Blackwake is a game based around the Napoleonic era, primarily focused with ship-to-ship combat, with cannons roaring, splinters flying, and the ship, her crew, and her captain set out to defeat their enemy through brute force, and this game's hilariously arcadey goodness. If you have been looking for something like this, then stay tuned and let's see if this is the one. Blackwake is developed by Massfire Studios, a crowd-funded indie game developer that set out to make a Napoleonic-era naval game that hadn't been done yet. After a few years of development, the game went to full 1.0 just earlier this year. This game pits the glorious British Navy against the pirate menace. You can play either the captain or crew member across 3 different game modes, although I strongly recommend new players stick with crew until they get the hang of the game first. The captain is voted in at the start of the round after competing with others for the role. After that, their job is to steer and aim the ship to get shots on the enemy, as well as generating their battle plan on the fly. It's honestly a perfect mix of breathtaking moments of suspense and exhilarating action. A charismatic captain who leads their team well can often make the difference in the battle. As a crewman, you'll load and man the cannons, spot enemy ships, repair your own ship, or even board the enemy if your captain deems it necessary. You'll also have a selection from a variety of shot types like round, grape, grapple, as well as some fun ones for taking down sails, masts, or even a heated shot to set the enemy ship on fire. All the while getting exploded into tiny pieces from incoming fire, or shot in the head. If you didn't pick up on it already, this game plays very arcadey with a bit of a mix of realism into it. It sometimes feels a little bit quirky, but for the most part it's easy to pick up and master. You'll find yourself diving deep into the insane action moments this game has to offer the very first time you play it. The 3 game modes available for play are Capture the Booty, Siege, or Team Deathmatch. Capture the Booty pits both teams working to capture the target number of chests before the other team, or simply have more when the timer runs out. The game tells everyone where the booty is, even when the enemy team has it, and results in a mix of first-person shooter and ship-to-ship cannon firing action. Siege gives attackers an enemy fort to assault and the defenders the role of land-based defenses. As a defender, you'll man the cannons and mortars to keep their invaders at bay, and as an attacker, you'll dodge incoming fire as you try to take down their fortifications, their gate, and ultimately storm the fort. This game mode gives ship-based target destruction at the start that leads into a beautiful, high-stakes, first-person shooting action finale at the fort.
Push, 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 push.
Lastly is Team Deathmatch. 3 ships aside, 2 smaller ships, and 1 big one. Duke it out with your enemies through whatever strategy you want and cause them to lose all available respawns, known as tickets in this game. Shoot them. Board them. Ram them and drive the grapples in to force a no respawn battle where the winner steals tickets from the enemy. It is worth mentioning that Team Deathmatch is the most played of them all. Siege and Capture the Booty tend to get played less. The hilarious death animations and gaudy voice acting give the game a silly vibe. This blends perfectly with the arcadey action, which was the goal the developers set out from the onset. Yet at some points it almost feels like it was trying to be a simulation, which just feels a bit janky to be honest, amidst all the chaos and laughable characters. Because of this, the game attracts a lot of players that end up memeing and goofing around most of the battle. This can both work for and against the game, as I've had some hilarious conversations with players in games.
Carry on, you're my dad.
Aw, hello son.
I love you.
I love you too, son. That got weird for a moment. It also lends its gameplay to trolls who like to mess with those trying to be serious and actually play the game. Thankfully though, the in-game moderation system makes it easy to cast them out. Blackwake offers clean, basic graphics. The audio quality, on the other hand, is excellent, and whoever they hired as the voice actors needs a raise as they fit the hilarious role they wanted for the gameplay perfectly. The cannons, small arms, explosions, everything sounds excellent and is very immersive. There's just something about hearing the captain yell out, "Fire!" and all the cannons going off together. Maybe that's just me, but that's just ear candy to me. Fast-paced action. This game is a non-stop thrill from start to finish that plays out both suspensefully and hilariously. Crew play. This is a favorite game mechanic of mine where multiple players are required to operate a single piece of equipment, in this case a ship. A well-coordinated crew led by a charismatic and smart captain will be some of the best action that this game can offer. Victories and losses are both celebrated by the crew as a whole. One-of-a-kind game. If you like old-school ship battles, there isn't much else out there right now that touches this game. They set out to make something different, and I think they did it. It actually works better feeling arcadey, as super realistic games of this era feel clunky and take a lot of practice to get good at. I feel like an arcade experience was the smartest move for this game. Tiring crew play. While it is a ton of fun, after a few hours you'll have the job of crewmate nailed down hard. Of course, there is a point in enjoying getting good and perfecting the repetitive tasks of loading and firing the cannons and firing and repairing holes, but after a while you'll start feeling like you're just there to do chores for the captain. There isn't really a lot to make this part of the game better, and it just feels like something essential at the core is missing here. If you end up with a great captain, they can make this more interesting and make you want to play for hours on end. It just feels like it's lacking something here. Revolving door of players. This plays off the previous point. Because the game gets boring so quickly for a lot of players, this game can't seem to hold down any experienced players all that well. The matches are flooded with new players that are all trying to learn the game together. You end up with the blind leading the blind, with a captain who has no idea how to aim the ship and a crew trying to figure the rest out, all while getting blown to smithereens. You can combat this by taking the lead once you figure things out, but if you just want to play without taking charge, it can be incredibly frustrating. No updates planned. What you see is what you get. The game went through a period of very active development before getting released and had a lot of great content that was added during that time. It's also unfortunately not as active as it used to be, but you should still be able to find at least one or two servers mostly full to join. I met with Dakota, who is one of the two game developers. He's a great, super friendly guy and gladly took the interview, so thanks so much for that. I asked him a bunch of questions, and it really was a great interview, but in the interest of keeping this video short, basically to summarize, he said that they set out with a completely different concept and ran into a few limitations along the way. He felt that they did the best that they could with what they had to work with, and to be honest with you, I agree with him. This is still a really great game. What this game honestly needs at this point is another developer to recognize the strengths of this platform and pick up where it left off. I think that this was made into something that continued to keep the focus on combat. It would be an excellent game and many people could enjoy it. All of that taken into consideration, I still give this game a solid 7.5 out of 10. Good, and receives the Stealth Fox recommended buy. The only reason I didn't give it an 8 is just because it's a little rough around the edges. It also sells for an incredibly cheap price normally and is often on sale for $1. Just don't expect to get hundreds of hours out of it before you get bored and move on. If you can keep that in mind, I think you're going to have a great time. It really is unfortunate you missed this game's prime back in its early access days and shortly after its release, where tournaments and clans existed en masse in the game. It really was just a shining light of hope into this style of gameplay. Again, that's not to say that it's a bad game, it's still a fantastic game to play. I just feel that some of its best times are behind it. I still love it, and I still play it from time to time. Stay safe out there, sailors, and we'll see you on the open waters. That's alright. Alright, oh, we've been hit. I probably should have dodged that one. Everyone on repairs. Everyone on repairs. I probably should have dodged that one.